From a 13-0 deficit to a 17-16 lead. Over the middle, caught for the touchdown. Zach Ertz.
You make one guy miss, and now with his speed, he's off to the races.
The two-point try and tie it. Again, incomplete for Zacchaeus. They're down and 1. Ball's on the ground.
I get paid to go out there and focus playing and play out, and I had a lack of focus right there, and it cost us a game.
Kick is good, and the Bears win it.
Wild night as we continue here on Get Up. 2 great football games, 2 really, really good baseball games. We start with Chicago and Atlanta last year, or excuse me, Chicago and Washington. Last year, the NFC North was the best division in the sport. 3 teams won at least 11 games. This year, all 4 teams look like they could be in the mix. They are the only division right now that every team currently has a winning record. Take a look at the Packers and Lions, heavily favored to win that division. The Vikings, right now, the longest odds to win the division. So we asked everyone before we started, who do we like winning that division? And I see it split between Detroit and Green Bay, which is probably not a surprise. Jeffrey.
Yeah, I just like the Lions. I think ultimately this team's going to get healthy on the back end of their defense. They're going to be better. This is a tough-minded football team who is extremely explosive. I know they lose to the Chiefs, a tough game. Things don't go out. The 2 fourth downs don't work out their way. This is a team that pushes the envelope. They're not scared to make a mistake. They're going to play through mistakes. You got to respect it. That's why I'm going with it.
They're an aggressive team. I like the Lions in this, but I'm going to lean towards the Packers because their defense is much better, but they aren't necessarily producing the turnovers and sacks. Considering how much pressure they get, they should have more sacks and turnovers. I think those things will come along, and this team will turn into the juggernaut I think that we thought they were going to be.
I'm having a tough time. I picked the Lions to go to the Super Bowl before the season started, and I don't see any obvious reason to back off of that at this point, except that both of these teams, we have to remind ourselves it's still the middle of October. Yeah. But if I recall, when we got working through the playoffs last year, all these teams got knocked out quickly. And I could see it happening again. They all have these big, obvious kind of flaws, and those teams out west that no one is paying attention to.
Yep.
And Tampa, like, I'm not sure that while this might be the strongest division top to bottom, I'm not sure these are the best teams.
They beat each other up a little bit, too, over the course of the season. I think and Detroit's already doing that thing where everybody on defense gets hurt, so you're starting to see that. Now, it's not season ending.
I hate when they do that
thing.
Yeah.
To me, it's a coin flip. I think the Packers, a young team that has reason to believe it'll get better as the season goes along, so that was what broke the tie for me. But looking at this graphic, I think my only thing I can say is congratulations to the Bears on your division.
Or the Vikings.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone is discounting the Vikings.
The Vikings are the only one in that division that has a question mark at the quarterback position. That's the reason I think that they're last.
Do they think they have a question mark? Like, I think they think they have J.J. McCarthy.
Guys played 2 games. Like, they can't possibly know, even if they believe that he's the guy.
I get that. All I'm saying is that when we came in here 5 weeks ago today, or whenever it was the morning after the first Monday night game, we thought that, J.J. McCarthy's the offensive player of the week, and the Bears are the ones that have the question marks, and here we go.
Offensive player of the week with 160 passing yards.
I get it, but it was the great fourth quarter.
Yes, and I do think they believe they have their guy. The biggest thing is that he just needs to be out there. To the point of that game, you got to see a little bit of the it factor. Now you need the development on the practice from day in and day out, the game from week in and week out, to see him continue to progress.
Final word.
Yeah, I mean, we do TV, Greeny, after a game like that. We overreact, make it real excited, the people like it, and then a few weeks later they tell us we were wrong. It's a game
alliteration on them.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm offended by the mere suggestion that you think we would ever overreact to anything on this program, including huge news in Tennessee, the most ridiculous thing in the history of sports. That's meant to be a funny overreaction. First firing of the NFL season. Titans saying goodbye to Brian Callahan 6 games into his second year. He finishes 4-19, 1-5 this year with Cam Ward, the first pick in the draft. Senior offensive assistant Mike McCoy will take over as interim coach, and it continues this, well, what else can you say, ridiculous trend. In the last 10 years, 8 quarterbacks have been taken first overall. 6 of them had head coaching changes in their rookie season, including Ward. It has now happened in 3 straight instances. This drives me insane. You know how I feel about that. If we can go little picture and deal with just what they're doing in Tennessee, or we can go big picture. I say this all the time, Dominique. far more young quarterbacks are ruined than developed. Teams don't sync up. They don't marry up the timeline between the two most important people, the coach and the quarterback, and it is a recipe for disaster.
I mean, ideally, I think you're probably right. That's what you want to do, but I think it's just a universal flat rule. I think it's a bad idea. If you know that you have your coach, then you keep your coach. The problem is probably making the wrong hire to start with. I think misaligning the timelines isn't actually what's causing these things to go wrong, is that they had the wrong guy to start with, and they stuck with the wrong guy instead of finding the right guy.
But I guess that's reasonable. How do you see it?
Yeah, I think it's too much turnover at every level if you're talking about Tennessee. Right? They're either firing the coach or the GM every January.
Right. Yeah.
That doesn't, like, I'm not kidding. Like, you go back the last 3-4 years, that's happened. So you go back to this offseason, they change the front office structure. They bring in a new GM, Mike Borgonzi, and they elevate Chad Brinker. He's like in charge of the whole organization now, like football-wise. So there were conversations in the offseason, do we want to bring back Brian Callahan or do we want to move on after 1 year? They ultimately decided to bring him back. The problem is you're having that conversation. And once you start having that conversation, and you're now bringing in the #1 overall pick, like, you have to make sure that you have your guy. And if they were having that conversation, then Brian Callahan wasn't their guy, and he was in a situation where he wasn't going to be able to succeed. I mean, you don't have to cry for Brian Callahan. 4-19 is not a good enough. Like, you can't, but I don't think this is about can he coach, was he the right decision. Like, once you're discussing it as a newly structured front office with a brand new quarterback coming in, you have to be 100% sure, and to me, it doesn't sound like they were.
Go ahead.
To me, the sad part of it is we literally watched the same exact process with Caleb Williams a year ago, where you switch play callers, then you fire the head coach. You would think that you would learn from those lists of names we had up there on the screen. But for me, it goes right back to Neek. It starts all the way at the top, and it goes beyond the head coach. You have to make sure when you're hiring a general manager, you're putting the right football people in place to bring a guy in. So when your head coach comes in, you see the vision that he has for the football team, and you trust that within 2, 3, 4, 5 years that vision is going to come to fruition, and you're not just giving up after a year and 6 games.
You heard it. 2, 3, 4, those, right? Here is my issue with all of this. I think people don't necessarily always understand the power structure in the NFL. And you said it right. In Ford, so they fired a general manager, then a new general manager, then they fire Vrabel, then they fire that general manager, right? So the process continues. Now they do it again. They're questioning whether they should fire the head coach. So what does the head coach come in? He comes in, he's basically a lame duck. Yeah. So when things don't go well with a rookie quarterback that you know is going to take time to develop, all of a sudden you got to fire your play caller. Well, why do I got to fire my play caller? You got to move on from this guy. So Steve Wilkes said it best the other day, and it was talking about he had cut a player, Baker Mayfield. Said, hey, and Steve Wilkes was like, hey, listen, I'm not sure how much authority an interim head coach has. That's no different. I live this. I'm just telling you, you have no power in the organization, and you're expecting people to do things. And here's the problem, though. Callahan, the record is what the record is. I don't have a problem with that. But the system that is in place for them in the organization is the problem. Until they fix that, they don't fix it.